How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting and welcome back to Chaoshead, where we are officially on the Sena route. I mean, was it a big surprise? I mean, she, from day one, caught my eye. I gotta make sure we go down her route. Again, I was kind of wanting to see what I would stumble into, but here we are. So, we're here. I guess we finally kind of got to the official point. We won't be skipping anymore, which is going to be nice, because that was getting old for me. But... Now we're here. We ask Sena for help because this is what happens. The turn he takes instead of like after the last NewGen killing, the DNQ like jigsaw puzzle one. Normally he kind of spirals into the madness that eventually leads him to the Shibuya scramble area where everyone's gathered. He ends up drawing his D sword, and like the final Noah device activation happens basically. I think there's like stuff that leads up to that too, like where he like finds out that he's not real, he's a delusion, but you know, we'll get to that. Right now instead we went to Sena and said, hey, I can't do this, I need help. And she's like, all right, I'll help you. And then her first step is saying, all right, we're gonna go straight to the NOZOMI headquarters. And he's like, what do you mean? And she just grabs us with a chain and says, come along. And now we're here, so it should be fun. I have no idea how long this is going to be, so we'll have to see how thorough these endings are, if they're relatively short. It could be similar to like Steins Gate's alternate routes, which usually were fairly short, but we'll find out. Anyway, let's jump right in. NOZOMI's main branch is apparently within walking distance to Shibuya Station, but my mental strength had already been completely drained before we even reached it. After all, Sena had been parading me around right smack in the middle of Shibuya. It went without saying that practically every cell phone in existence had been pointed at me, and with that, my dark past had grown even darker. There was definitely a thread about it on that channel by now. As per Nishijo indulging in puppy play with black-haired beauty in Shibuya. Oh, the DQNs are never going to let me hear the end of this. No matter how much I pleaded with Sena, she refused to remove the chains.
今のお前にとって必要なのは目立つことだ。今のところ I mean,
you're not wrong, but it sounds like, unfortunately, I assumed that the chains were still, like, you know, semi-real, but I guess if they're actually holding him, they have to have been actualized, which means everyone can see them. So yeah, she's literally parading him around in chains. She was constantly spouting all sorts of nonsensical reasoning like that. Seriously, what kind of bullcrap logic was that? Anzai-sensei wanted to be a man who stands out from a crowd. Had I asked her anything like that? No, I fetching hadn't. Let's see. What is that? Anzai-sensei, coach from a famous basketball manga. On the internet, users parody a certain quote from the manga in order to express their desperate desire. Anzai-sensei, I want to blank. Often another quoted line, the one spoken by Anzai-sensei, is, if you give up, it's game over. Basketball? I don't know. I'm sure it's a popular series, but kind of like sports in real life, sports in anime have never really had much of a sway for me. Just don't find it all that interesting, if I'm honest. Strolling right into the enemy base. What the heck was she thinking? We could be killed at any moment. It's also odd because normally she talked about how we're going to infiltrate the NOZOMI, but drawing as much attention to ourselves as possible seems counterproductive. So I'm curious what her plan is here. Completely ignoring my complaints, Sena casually entered the fancy building, dragging me right along with her. After all, the chain had given me no choice in the matter. You could fight it, but okay. The grandeur of the expansive lobby standing before me took my breath away. The NOZOMI Group. It had apparently become one of Japan's leading conglomerates. A place like this was so far removed from the life of a student like me, it felt like a completely different world. Now we're going to read the conglomerate, but a conglomerate should be basically collections of different corporate entities. Conglomerate, large corporate entity formed by the repeated merging of companies from various industries that are not directly related. They manage a wide variety of industries. Okay, so I was a little off there. So it's a corporate business that's the merger of a bunch of different businesses. Instead of like a bunch of coordinated businesses, it's like they're all one business, but it's just branching into so many different types of stuff. It can't be defined. Like, it's not a supermarket chain or a hardware store or a bakery. It's a business that is simultaneously running supermarket chains, bakeries, and hardware stores. I'd never set foot in a building quite like it before. The size of the lobby, the practical enshrinement of the hot grills at the reception desk, I had to take a moment to breathe. Wait, we were in a company workplace. Shouldn't it have been off limits to unauthorized personnel? Both Sena and I were wearing sueme uniforms. We were so very obviously high school students. Not only that, but I was wrapped up in a chain too. We were practically screaming that we were intruders. For Sena to disregard this and enter the building like she owned the place, I began to doubt her sanity. The moment we entered through the automatic doors, I made eye contact with one of the receptionists. I was hesitant to go any farther than we already had, but Sena didn't stop moving.
心配するな。
I mean, okay. that's what I'm best at. We move past a reception desk and head toward the elevator in the back, and nobody said a word to us. What the hell? Sena didn't get on the elevator though. Instead, she chose to go for the fire escape near the hall. Beyond the door was a dimly lit emergency staircase and that was where she finally stopped.
周囲は私たちを望みの社員だと思い込んでる。
How? Is it like common for them to see people acting really weird and using like delusions like we are? Suddenly, before I could even blink, the pressure on my body disappeared. When I looked down, I saw the chain around me had vanished without a trace, and the next thing I saw was the D sword in Sena's hand. Was the chain just a delusion Sena had real booted using her gigamaniac powers? So Sena had sent an antiparticles into my dead spots, this time making the real booted chain instantly disappear.
望みの社員と思ってるってどういう？
そう思い込ませた。肉眼で私たちを見た人間全員にな。
Oh. So she got a lot of attention because the more people whose eyes she got meant that she was able to create a more convincing delusion down the line, which was, we belong here. The delusion is that we're NOZOMI employees. So she walked in, basically shrouded in that belief that enough of the public had a cognizant presence of to make it so that she could maintain a real boot there. I think that's what it was. There was enough people who were kind of aware of us that when she changed and altered the perceptions that we had, she had enough oomph to push it through. That's what I'm guessing. She'd made them. She could do that? Sena then looked up at the top of the staircase. Something resembling a surveillance camera was installed there, had a red light affixed to it, and let out an eerie sound as it surveyed the room.
監視カメラにも思い込ませることってできるの？
No.
やろうと思えばできるかもな。試したことはない。
Oh.
それに、やる必要もない。
なんでバレちゃうじゃないか。ありえない。スニーキングミッションでは監視カメラを最初に壊すでしょ。常識的に考えて。
Stealth mission. I mean, it's a video game thing. Type of level often seen in various action games. The goal is to infiltrate enemy territory, achieve the objective, then escape all without being detected. This type of mission has become so prevalent in modern games, it's considered its own genre, also known as a sneaking mission in certain tactical espionage action series. Also, one of my favorite types of ways to play the game. Even in games where you don't have to be stealthy, the challenge of being stealthy for me in a game like that can actually be the fun part. It's definitely a challenge, but I do enjoy the patience of it and just kind of like being able to pull it off without a hitch. I get a thrill from that, even though a lot of people find it boring. Well, everyone who'd played a video game before at least.
言っただろ。お前が目立つことが必要なんだ。
And that's exactly why I don't get it. Aren't you contradicting yourself? You made them assume we're NOZOMI employees in order to camouflage us, but then you turn around and say you need to stand out. Which is it? And what exactly are you trying to do? All everyone does is speak in riddles. Do you think I'm an idiot or something? What, do you all think yourselves, even if I try to explain it, you won't get it? You are, aren't you? Fetch you. Ugh, darn it. Smart people. IQ is absolutely higher than Sena's, no doubt about it. Oh, first sign of you having a big IQ is being confident you have one. As I bit my lip in frustration, Sena took off on her own up the stairs, leaving me behind to continue seething. Did this girl have any actual interest in protecting me? No, she didn't. After all, she'd already put me in harm's way by dragging me into this building. But regardless of her intentions, I just wish she'd stop rushing ahead on her own. She could at least tell me where she was going and what she was trying to do. Just give me some explanation, please. Why were we using the staircase instead of the elevator anyway? I suck at exercising.
エレベーターに乗るのは自殺行為だ。
Sena's voice rang out from above me. Had she read my mind again? With a sigh, I started heading up the stairs towards her voice. It's possible, especially with her interaction with the Kozupi, she might have picked up how to actually read surface thoughts. Sena was waiting 2 stories above me, and as soon as I caught up, she started climbing again.
敵の本拠地でエレベーターに乗ったら閉じ込められて身動きが取れなくなるのがオチだろ。
それはそうだけど。
それより西条、将軍について教えろ。そいつはいつからお前を攻撃するようになった？
1ヶ月ぐらい前から。
話したことがあるんだな。
When I nodded in response, Sena stopped dead in her tracks and looked down at me from a few stairs above. I could see your panties from this angle, Sena-san. I averted my eyes out of reflex.
どんなことを言っていた？
A lot of things. It took a moment to tell Sena about everything Shogun had said up until that point, as well as the fake kidnappings he'd staged to try and scare me.
畑野という名前に聞き覚えは？
Hatano. Wait a minute, Hatano. That doesn't sound familiar to me at all.
ないけど。
Oh, that's right,
将
her
軍が言っ
dad.
ていたかもしれないだろう。よく思い出せ。
For some reason, I totally blanked. That's her dad. Hatano. Never heard the name before.
誰？
プロジェクトノアに関わっていた男だ。
I didn't know him. Didn't even know what Project Noah was.
そうか。知らないなら別にいい。
Sena turned away in a huff and resumed her climb in silence. Oh yeah, she also doesn't know at this point. Yeah.
まだ。
Bro, we've been up like 3 flights. Calm down. At this point, she doesn't know that we're associated with the IR2 formula, the one that destroyed her family, because this precedes that revelation. We'd gone up at least 20 stories with next to no breaks. I'd probably never climbed so many stairs in my entire life. And yeah, never mind. I thought it was just being exaggerated. No, 20 stories is a problem for like anybody. I was exhausted. I didn't want to climb anymore. Sweat trickled down my forehead, stinging in my eyes. I wiped it off over and over again with my hands, but it continued to bead no matter what I did. My legs felt heavy. I couldn't breathe. It felt like I was going to suffocate. I planted my hands on my knees in an attempt to catch my breath. Drops of sweat fell from my face and dotted the floor.
あと、どれぐらい登るの？
社長室は最上階にあるらしい。31階だ。
431. We have 11 more. 10 more floors to go. Hold on. Why was I even going along with this in the first place? All I'd done was ask Sena to protect me, so why was this happening to me? I don't know what that's a reference is. I don't even know what that word's supposed to be. Something's face appeared in the back of my mind. My heavy breathing reverberated throughout the quiet staircase. Surprisingly, Sena didn't try to go on ahead after I caught up this time. Instead, she leaned against the wall and stared at me with a blank expression on her face. It seemed like she was finally letting us take a short break. Mounted above Sena was another one of the security cameras. They were installed on every floor. There's no way they hadn't found out that we'd been climbing the staircase by now. Security guards could arrive at any moment.
監視カメラに細工をしなかったのは？
Suddenly, Sena began to murmur something.
将軍がもし望みの人間でこのビル内にいるならおびき寄せることができるかもしれないと思ったからだ。
つまり、僕はおとりってわけ？
Yeah, that might have been a plan. I guess we might not have gone along with it, but that seems like a plan you should let the bait know.
そういうことになる。
Dang.
もともと望みになんか興味はなかったんだけどな。このビルに乗り込むことにしたのだってイレギュラーだ。もちろん、いつかはプロジェクトノアを潰そうとは思っていたが、それは今じゃない。それよりも優先しなくちゃいけないことがあった。
Oh, is this about your dad? She'd become awfully talkative all of a sudden. Was she finally going to explain why we were here? But Sena didn't reveal what that something else was.
お前の話を聞く限り、その将軍は何かを知ってる。 あるいは、畑野のことも。
For a split second, her face stiffened upon saying that name. Are they really that terrible of a person?
安心しろ、西条。これは交換条件だ。お前におとりになってもらう代わりに、私はお前を守る。それにお前だって、将軍の正体を知りたいだろ？脅威を排除するには、こちらから攻撃。
Oh. Suddenly abruptly stopped, then she frowned, stepped away from the wall, and readied her gigantic D-sword right in the middle of the narrow, cramped stairway.
どうしたの？
Oh, it's that sound. I think they activated one of the devices. Sena didn't answer. She peered down the stairwell and then up, only to freeze in place.
この声、どこから？
A voice.
お前、何者だ！
She suddenly shouted. I thought she might have been shouting at the security camera, but her gaze was directed further upward toward the ceiling. It couldn't be. I had a bad feeling about this. Unable to resist the bait, I looked up at the ceiling. Naturally, there was nothing there. After all, I couldn't hear the voice, but I had a good idea of what it was. Shogun! He was reading our minds using some satellite way up in the sky, and he was making Sena hear some kind of voice.
セナ、その声を聞いちゃダメだ。セナ！
I promptly grabbed hold of her shoulder and shook her.
将軍は、望みの人間じゃないらしい。
Oh, I was right. She had heard Shogun's voice.
騙されてる。あいつは敵だよ。信じちゃダメだ。
音だ。
My hands were still gripping her shoulders. She responded by grabbing my wrist tightly, her nails digging deep, shooting pain through my entire body. My face twisted in.
西条、音がしている。気をつけろ。
Oh. She's hearing the sound of the preludes of delusion. We're getting a vision of where our sister is. A flash of light burst on my head, and from that light, an image came forth. Oh, she's freaking here! I forgot about that! Oh my gosh! A dark room, puddle of blood staining the floor, a modern art piece resembling that of a crucifix. Someone was bound there, with their head lifelessly hanging down, their clothes stained in blood, their right hand cruelly severed. I'd seen it. I'd seen it clearly. This was without a doubt Nanami.
ナナミがこのビルのどこかに。
She had been kidnapped by Shogun. Her wrist, that wasn't a delusion, it was real. I had to find her. I wasn't able to save her before, and now Sena was suffering too. So I had to find her. This time for sure, I had to do something.
落ち着け、西条。これは罠の可能性が。
さっき君だって将軍の言葉を信じたじゃないか。
I violently shook Sena's hand off me. The presidential office was on the 31st floor.
違う、音を聞け。将軍の干渉とは別の妄想だ。
I ignored her and sprinted up the stairs. This was no time to complain about my exhaustion. I was desperate. Nanami was suffering, and it was my fault. It was all my fault. I'd failed her back then. I'd run away. She must resent me. Forgive me. I'm a pathetic excuse for an older brother. Dang it, I wanted power. Wanted a D-sword like Sena. Why couldn't I get my hands on one? That was all I asked for. Nanami, don't die. I'm begging you. No, this isn't gonna go well at all. Oh gosh, we're here. I made it to the gigantic 31st floor. There's only one entrance to it. Wasting no time, I flung open and dove straight through, and just like that, I was in the very same room I saw in my vision. Several monitors hung from the ceiling, each displaying the word NOZOMI on a white background. I looked over for Nanami. The room was so dark I couldn't make anything out clearly, but...
ナナミ。
There were no signs of life. No movement, no breathing, nothing at all.
西条。
Chasing after me, Sena flew into the open door and forcefully grabbed my hand.
今すぐ出るぞ。これは罠だ。
だってナナミが。
聞こえないのか、この音が。
Crap. Suddenly, the door that we'd left open slammed shut all of its own. The room grew even darker.
しまった。
Sena ran to the door and wrestled with the knob, but it refused to budge. Then, the outline of the D-sword in her hand suddenly faded to nothing. It was almost as if it had completely dissolved.
閉じ込められた。
だったら力を使えばいいじゃないか。
うまく妄想できない。
Sena's face twisted. She rubbed her temples and weakly shook her head. I was getting a headache. I only noticed it when I'd regained my focus. I wasn't severe by any means, but the minor faint pain seemed to reverberate from the center of my head. The ached and throbbed and throbbed and throbbed. Felt kind of lightheaded. Nanami, where are you? Is this one of Shogun's traps? Is this Shogun my ally? What kind of company is NOZOMI Technology? Sena had such a okay. Who's hot to know anyway? Weird, I'm losing my train of thought.
バイオ周波数攻撃を受けているぞ。
The display on two of the monitors overhead suddenly changed. In place of the NOZOMI logo, the faces of two middle-aged men appeared, one on each monitor.
まったく最近の若者は恐れ知らずだな。もちろん悪い意味でだが。
いかにも。おそらく井ノ原先生が推進したゆとり教育の産物だろうね。
私はただ300人委員会のプランを実行したまでだがな。世界人間牧場計画の一環としては悪くないプログラムだったよ。
Interesting. So I don't know if this conversation's real or not. It kind of sounds like it. I mean, they're actually mentioning like Committee of 300, which is odd. They must be very confident we're not getting out. But like this idea, like by dumbing down the population by like negatively affecting the lax education system is part of the worldwide human domestication project. Gosh darn it, does that not start feeling more and more real the more I learn about it? Holy crap. What was going on? Who were these people?
それを潰したのも井ノ原先生だというのがなんとも滑稽なところだよ。300人委員会も予想外だっただろうね。
私と倉持先生の野心も知らず、のうのうと世界を牛耳っているつもりなのだろうが、そんな連中に対するある種の宣戦布告だったんだよ、あれは。
世界を掌握するのに300人も必要ない。我ら2人で十分なのだからね。
What were these two talking about? Then, right as I was thinking that, the two men on the monitors turned their stares to me.
それにしてもノロセが言っていた通りだったね。まさかここまで馬鹿正直に網にかかる者がいたと。
1週間も放置しておけば衰弱してろくに抵抗もできなくなろう。それから拷問しようとしゃれ込もうではないか。
Oh, lovely.
畑のセナはすでにコードサンプル取得済みと資料にはある。
Hatano Sena, who's that?
洗脳を施した方が良さそうだ。我らの兵士としよう。
兵士兼慰み者だな。ギガロマニアックスの少女を奴隷とするなど実に気分が良さそうではないか。
Alright, so creepy old men are creepy. But this also is interesting too because again, I'm probably drawing too many parallels, but this idea of like brainwashing and these tools do feel like they get utilized inside the Steins Gate endings, where obviously the big crux of the Steins Gate stuff is the time machine. But if you remember in Steins Gate 0, there is a huge, massive plot point about brainwashing people and working with their subconscious. I wonder if Dr. Leskinen in Steins Gate 0 basically took up or was a foundational member of what some of this work is, because I'm like the idea. My guess is that the relationship between Steins Gate and Chaos Child is that they're kind of branching paths of where the successful like world domination plans like came from. Like in this world line, it's NOZOMI that's successful over CERN. And then in the Steins Gate one, it's CERN who's successful, but they're branches of the same tree. And this idea that maybe the stories are intrinsically tied by these similar threads, it makes a lot of sense.
井ノ原先生もお好きだね。
ではギガロマニアックスの諸君、監禁生活をせいぜい楽しみたまえ。
Man, they're so mustache twirling.
1週間が経つ頃にはプロジェクトノアにより世界は大きく変わっていることだろう。その変革の瞬間を見ることができない君たちに同情するよ。
The old men disappeared from the monitors and the room was covered in darkness once again. It'd been a trap, it'd been a trap. To think the two grown men, one of which I was sure was a member of the House of Representatives, would join forces just to trap some random otaku freak like me. This couldn't be real. It had to be a fetching joke. Nanami wasn't here. She had been in prison somewhere else. I felt absolutely pathetic for playing right into their hands. If I had known this would happen, I would have just listened to Sena. Well, funny enough, she kind of knew it was going to happen, and you didn't listen to her, bro.
衆議院議員と天聖振興会の教祖が300人委員会の一員だったとはな。
Sena slammed her shoulder against the entrance again and again, but it refused to give. It probably had been locked on the outside, and seeing as it was extremely sturdy, trying to burst it open was likely impossible.
300人委員会
If I remember correctly, wasn't that the name of the organization which occasionally popped up in conspiracy theories? Did it actually exist?
よく考えてみればそれも納得だ。もともと沈黙の兵器の理論を作ったのは300人委員会なんだからな。
さっきのおっさんたちが言ってたプロジェクトノアって何？
Having given up, Sena stepped away from the door in defeat. She surveyed the dimly lit room with a sullen expression.
のぞみテクノロジーが進めている沈黙の兵器開発計画だ。
沈黙の兵器？
一言で言うなら広範囲に作用するマインドコントロール装置だな。
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it's not just strictly that. I think the idea of it is it's a weapon that utilizes that, like, so we have some examples of what we would call like military applied silent weapons. Like there's pretty drastic evidence that there are things like not radar guns, they're microwave guns. Basically, like it's a big like device that you click a button and everyone within like a certain range suddenly feels like their skin's like getting really uncomfortably hot and on fire. Like it doesn't actually leave marks or supposedly do any damage, but it feels incredibly uncomfortable. So it's like a long-range water hose for deterring crowds and dispersing groups and just making people feel very uncomfortable. The fact that you can fire that gun, and while there's clearly a source point, it's a lot less invasive, intrusive, or aggressive looking and feeling as something like pepper spray. So it would be considered a step towards that silent weapon, but they're taking it to that point where you have silent weapons that are so effective that people who are under their effects cannot pinpoint the effect's origin point or even recognize that they're under any type of attack or manipulation. So they're true silent weapons.
思考盗撮、視覚投影、五感制御。肉体的には損傷を与えることはない。音もないし、色もないし、匂いもしない。目にも見えない。
Right.
だが確実に多くの人の精神をゆっくりと静かに汚染していく。誰にも気づかれないまま攻撃は完了しているんだ。
Yeah, true silent weapon attacks to be executed without anyone noticing.
まるでギガロマニアックスの力みたいじゃないか。
当然だ。沈黙の兵器はギガロマニアックスを人工的に生み出そうという考えから始まったんだからな。
Yeah, which is what Noah 2 really is. So I'm guessing Noah 1 was the first attempt to make an artificial Gigalomaniac, and they had success with that. So then they're scaling it up, which is what the Noah 2 is. It was also insane. It didn't even feel real. But in the end, that was just the way things were. I was no hero. Even if I was told that an insane corporation such as this were true and it was currently unfolding in Shibuya, I wouldn't feel the slightest urge to stand against it. Even if I were to go out and fight, I wouldn't be able to help anyone. I'd just leave it to somebody who was actually useful. Maybe, just maybe, the NewGen incidents, as well as the endless string of bizarre events that have been pursuing me, were all related to Project Noah. Oh, glad you realize it now. If that was the case, I would need to leave Shibuya as soon as possible in order to protect myself. All I wanted was for Nanami to be safe, me to be safe, and for us to live in peace. That was all I wished for. For that to happen, I needed to find my way out of here. I couldn't stand the thought of being stuck in a place like this upwards of a week, especially if there was no sign of any food or water anywhere. Oh, so that's what those old guys have been talking about. If we didn't eat or drink for an entire week, we'd inevitably start to break down. Worst case scenario, we could even die.
セナ、なんとかここから脱出する方法を考えてよ。
扉は開かない。
Sena looked utterly exhausted.
ディソードは
なぜか出せなくなった。力を封じられたか。沈黙の兵器で攻撃されているぞ、西条。
Silent weapon attack? The heck? What are you saying? There's no way out? Sena, with a look of pure exhaustion, slumped down to the floor.
大丈夫？
そう。体がだるい。
Oh boy.
それになんだか妙な気持ちだ。
Uh-oh.
胸の奥が締め付けられるような。
Her breathing shallow. Sena undid a few buttons on her uniform. Oh, of course. Why? I had a feeling. Even in the dark, I could see that her skin was drenched in sweat. Despite her situation, I found myself getting flustered. Come to think of it, I did feel pretty hot in here.
なあ、水を持ってないか。
Of course I didn't, but it was getting thirsty too, and fast. The thought of spending a full week in this heat without a drop of water made me feel utterly hopeless. Sena was staring fixedly at me. There was no way I'd be able to maintain eye contact with a 3D girl, so I desperately looked away, but I could still feel her gaze piercing through me. Don't look.
水はないよ。
When I answered, I took a quick glance at Sena, and our eyes met. Hold on, what was up with those shimmering eyes of hers? She almost looked like she a love-struck maiden or some crap. Well, I was both a virgin and had never had a girlfriend before, so I didn't know what that actually happened in reality. Panicking, I turned my back to Sena and gulped down my building saliva. Alright. It does? Kinda? It's like, it's over-dramatized, obviously, in media. But, yeah, there's definitely looks, and those looks can have a lot of meaning. And that meaning can be instinctively understood, even if you're very confused and you're not sure it's right. And that's actually a big problem, too. It's like, I've heard it said that, like, girls will complain saying, like, I don't get it. I was trying to send all these signals to this guy, like, come hither, eyes, and everything, and he didn't make a move. And it's like, do they just not know? And I'll speak from the guy's perspective, at least. We know. We absolutely see, like, those signs and everything. 90% of us absolutely see it. We're just terrified we're misreading the situation and don't want to, like, be super creepy. So we're like, it's probably just me. Like, most guys are going to be quick to dismiss it because, you know, it's a risk you're not willing to take. Now, some people, the guys that come across as confident, but really the fact there is that they don't see any value in, like, in a potential relationship, like, whether it's be like actual, like, romance, but just, or friendship and just kindness in general. So if somebody who comes across really confident, often it's just because they're willing to just dumpster that whatever your, like, estrangement is. So, because if they misread the signals and you, like, walk off and get insulted and never want to see them again or whatever, that's no skin off their back. But if they are picking up on the right signals, then boom, they get exactly what they're looking for. That's the thing. If people are actually caring about that relationship, they're going to be, like, hesitant to jump right in, assuming that they're reading the signs correctly, because if they get it wrong, they know it could ruin the relationship. So that's my little tidbit of advice. It's not that there's guys that just aren't confident. There's a lot of confident guys that still won't make that move initially, and that's because they don't want to be misreading it and make a big mistake. I think the confident guys will eventually make a move if you keep it up, but it might not be something that happens right away or right on your timetable.
おかしい。
Uh-oh.
気をつけろ、西条。感情操作されているかもしれない。
Uh-oh.
え、それってどういう。
お前を見ていると切ない気持ちになってくるんだ。
Oh gosh.
くそ、ふざけた攻撃を。
So the attack involves making Sena feel like she'd fallen in love with me? Or could it be that she'd already had feelings for me to begin with? Yeah, no way in hell. Use your brain, Takumi. Like, he seems oddly resistant to this. He might be able to get them out of here if he could just, you know, use his power a little bit.
感情を操作って一体どんな仕組みで。
人の感情なんて結局脳を流れる電気信号でしかないんだ。
She's right. In fact, we can definitely see CM can manipulate emotions and emotional responses. The trouble is that everyone's brains are mapped slightly differently. So while we have sections in our brain, like structures in our brain that generally facilitate the same thing, the internal structures of those sections are personalized. Like everyone, it's like when you have a computer, I can take a computer into a shop and they can open it up and they can see what every part is and where it's located pretty quickly. Even if it's a custom job that they didn't build, they can usually open it up and they can see exactly where all the critical components are, because a lot of the components are generally the same size and shape. But imagine if you had a computer where your graphics card, your motherboard, your processor, and all of that were jumbled together, where not only is it a custom job, but the actual like chipsets were like reorganized in different ways. Or even a way you could think about it is like, so you have your set like motherboard and you have your set graphics card, but inside the motherboard and graphics card, each one was wired like uniquely, so no two motherboards would be like shaped the same way. So yeah, one break or problem in one computer versus another computer might have the same origin, like it might be a specific type of connector or a specific failure or like a specific part that's failed. But if you opened it up and each one you had to scour the entire motherboard, the entire graphics card, or the entire memory stick just to find the one problem, even if you knew what the problem is, would be so time consuming, because you basically have to teach yourself a personalized map of a computer. Now, a human brain, which is basically a computer, is infinitely more complex at this point because of the way that the neurons work and how it's cellular based and runs off of very minuscule amounts of power, and is very complex and fantastic at doing that. So trying to fix things or target specific parts of the brain in a human is very difficult, and in fact has to be personalized. And so the expense of doing that is so extreme, there's not really a good way to actually treat people.
その電気信号に干渉する技術は世界中で研究されてる。案外とっくに実用化されてるかもしれない。
Right.
ましてや沈黙の兵器ノア2なら造作もないことだ。分かっただろう。世界は電気仕掛けだと私が言った意味が。
Right. Does that mean it's like a program, like lines of ones and zeros? It'd be incredibly easy to tamper something like that. That's the thing. It is. Like, it's not even like, oh, this is like hyperbole or this is just a video game. Like, no, it's literally ones and zeros. Do you know, like, if you look at it, if you don't believe me, like, look into this. Neurons are cells that send electrical signals that release chemicals to the next neuron to send a signal on. It's basically a giant like network. And the thing is how do those signals work? It's on or off. It's either you send the chemical and then reset, or you don't send the chemical and nothing moves. And when you have a network of all these neurons in your brain that are firing and not firing in conditions, that's sending the signals that your brain is interpreting to do everything that your body does. It's like visual, audio, thinking, all of it. All of it is either on or off. It's the binary code. On, 1, off, 0. On, off. That's all your neurons are doing with each other. On and off signals. And that's just it. That's just how computers work, and that's how your brain works. Isn't that crazy? That's so crazy. It's so cool. Yeah, so we're digital computers, and that's why I do believe 100% inevitably that we're going to hit that singularity point, that we will invent artificial life, that it's going to be artificial life, not because, oh, we're just trying to like make a digital brain. It's like, no, it's the inevitability of technology getting more and more advanced. We're basically mimicking what brains do. We're just doing it mechanically, but it's doing the same thing. And the more advanced it gets, the closer it starts approaching things like the mental abilities of a goldfish, mental abilities of a hamster, mental abilities of a monkey, and then next thing you know, to be as smart as we are. And because we can mechanically manipulate and we understand like its like finest points and have accessibility to a lot of its finer components, it's very likely that this technology will be able to evolve faster than biological systems, because biological systems take thousands, if not millions of years to do any meaningful change, whereas mechanically, as long as you have somebody outside who is intelligent enough to make those changes, it can happen a lot faster. And if the computers start getting strong enough where they become smart enough to be able to do their own changes, that's where it really will take off. I genuinely think that's the future. Not even a debate. Speaking of my computer, I think I need to go to get it cleaned. One of these days, I'm gonna like take a break and I'm gonna take the computer in and I'm just gonna make sure it gets a deep clean and maybe upgrade. I think I want to upgrade the motherboard if possible, because like I definitely think I got an alright motherboard, but I'd like to see if I could get a better one because I feel like it's showing its age. It's a scientifically proven fact that electronic signals run through our brains, so in reality, not only our emotions, but both the mind and soul are reducible to mere electronic signatures. Soul, that's the debatable one. There's an argument to be made because there's definitely people who are brain dead, but brains are functional. Like, they're alive, they're breathing, there are thoughts going through their head, but no meaningful thoughts. Like, the argument of a soul, it becomes metaphysical and more spiritual. That's neither here nor there. Some people will say that the two are just intrinsically linked. Some people say that they're not. That's up to you to kind of work out, because even if I were to say, oh yeah, I have a dedicated opinion on this, which honestly I really don't. I'm still trying to figure that out for sure, and I don't think there's ever going to be a real answer to that. But that's something you got to work out on your own. You and like maybe any spiritual like journeys that you're on. Wait a second, that's no different from 2D, is it? For example, let's look at a heroine from Eroge. Lizelot from ESO, the anime version of Sierra Tan and Sena. What's the difference between the four of them? The biggest difference, really, is that Sena is a self-actualization, where she is making decisions on her own. Granted, you can control a lot of the stimulus around a person and kind of, box in some of their choices. A big way that happens is financial. Most of us just don't make enough money to have true freedom. We can't just do whatever we want. We're limited in scope based on income. And ESO and Seratan, like in the anime and the game, are similarly bound because they don't have that freedom to be able to make choices. And that's the difference. What if Sena says about everything in the world being an electronic device is true, then there's no differences. They're all the same, mere electronical signals running through a device. I felt like I finally, albeit vaguely, understood why Sena had to use the word error. If all of that was true, then this NOAH 2 weapon would be like some super deadly virus or something using cheat codes in order to PK. Oh my gosh, is he gonna figure out how to do all this because he's finally putting it in terms his brain comprehends? Not even Nerdhard could win against those kinds of people. And not only that, but compared to Nerdhard, I was a ridiculously crappy playable character. So in the end, being trapped in here and starving to death like a pathetic loser, well, that was pretty fitting game over for me.
僕が悪いんじゃない。死亡フラグ立てまくってる。僕の中の人が悪いんだ。くそ。
Cradling my head, I curled into a ball. Come on. Around 28 hours had passed since we'd first gotten locked in here. During that time, I dozed off and lost consciousness countless times. I had been overwhelmed by a surge of uncontrollable emotions, with depression, mania, and other similar feelings leaving me mentally exhausted. Sena and I hadn't said a single word to each other the entire time. She'd pretty much been completely and utterly useless ever since we'd got locked up, really. I resent that. Taku, you're the one who got us locked up. The final ray of hope was the PC. Aside from the ones that had showed the detestable faces of the diet member and that religious founder, there were a ton of other monitors decorating the room. And every one of them was connected to a single PC. Since the PC is connected to the internet, I tried posting a bunch of SOS messages on various boards. But it had all been in vain. I hadn't been able to post anything at all. The PC could download just fine, but uploading was completely throttled. Any attempt to send chat messages or emails were quickly snuffed out. Under the orders of those two old guys, someone somewhere had to be watching us. But why were they letting us access information at all? Would soon learn the answer to that question. A few hours after starting to gather info online, I checked the articles of the article tab of Taboo on a whim. Riot breaks out in Shibuya Scramble Crossing. An article with that title caught my eye. Oh, yeah, so we're missing the major events that we were seeing before. And immediately after that, it happened. Yeah, activated. It all began with a tremor from below. The floor, no, the very building itself started to shake violently. The very next moment, I was struck with a violent ringing in my ears. It was such an intensely shrill, resonant sound, my head felt like it was about to burst open. I looked at Sena, who was covering her ears in agony. And then, a thunderous roar. The entire building thrashed around violently as if the world itself was trying to make a gigantic milkshake. Unable to stay upright any more, I tumbled over and my back crashed against the wall. Then I was crouched down in the center of the room, curled into a ball. And above her head, the monitor affixed to the ceiling was swaying back and forth like a pendulum. The world suddenly went into slow motion. The swaying of the monitor slowed down. With a dull sound, the aluminum pole holding the monitor snapped. And it fell down, ever so slowly, towards Sena. It was a feeling I'd experienced once before. It was exactly like when Ayase jumped off the school roof. She was going to die. If that gigantic monitor fell on her head, Sena would die. I couldn't make it in time. There were roughly 5 meters between us. Besides, I didn't have the courage to risk my life to save a 3D girl anyway. Even so, a delusion flared to life inside my mind. In that delusion, I kicked off the shaking floor, bolted over to Sena, and threw my arms around her in a magnificent save. And all of that happened in an instant. In just that blink of an eye, my body teleported over to Sena, threw its arms around her, and tumbled to the floor. The sound of the monitor crashing to the ground echoed right beside my ear. Even though the room had been so dark before, my field of vision was dyed white. So as the explosion went off, we were able to fire off a delusion real boot. Although the ear-splitting sound of the explosion, I was slammed with an even greater impact than before, and with that, my last thread of consciousness was severed. Did we get hit with the TV? How long have I been out? My consciousness drifted in and out of a deep slumber. I felt a ticklish, slightly annoying tingle at the tip of my nose, and upon noticing that faint, ever so slightly warm sensation, I slowly opened my eyes. Oh boy. Yeah, I thought so. Sena's face was only a few inches from mine. Her long hair draped over my cheeks. Her faint breath blew right against my nose. Her eyes were closed, but her eyelashes were quivering. She must have only lost consciousness. We were really, really close. If I wanted to, I could have easily moved in and kissed her. I frantically tried to skirt away, but my body wouldn't move. That was when I finally realized what exactly had happened. Keeping my head completely still, I tried to survey my surroundings, but it was pitch black. I couldn't make out anything. It felt like a thin film had been draped over my field of vision, but there was no film. It was just a cloud of dust. We'd been buried in rubble. So it wasn't that I couldn't see anything around me, it was that there wasn't any gaps in the rubble at all. No matter what direction I looked, I couldn't find a single opening. We had been lodged into an extremely cramped pocket of space beneath the rubble. Whenever I tried to force my hands or legs to move, I'd hear the sound of pebbles crumbling to the ground. That's risky. That sound made me realize I couldn't move or do anything at all. Cold sweat beaded on my forehead. Had there been an earthquake or something? Shibuya hadn't experienced a lot of those recently, but maybe they'd all been foreshocks. If so, this could be the biggest earthquake to hit Tokyo since the Great Kanto earthquake. Did that mean the NOZOMI building had collapsed? The terrorist attack that happened in America several years back came to mind, bringing an intense wave of hopelessness with it. The fact that we hadn't been injured yet, despite being stuck in a crevice, was probably nothing more than an insane stroke of luck. Yet being the key word. The rubble was just barely holding itself together, maintaining an extremely delicate balance. I had no way of making sure, but it was definitely possible that dozens of tons of debris were piled on top of us. If I made a single wrong move, that balance would be lost, and then that massive pile of rubble would crush us in less than a second. Imagining that as my last moment, I instantly froze in fear. I didn't want to die. I couldn't handle the idea of being crushed to death in a place like this where nobody would ever know. Hurry up and rescue me. Rescue squad, self-defense force. I don't care who, just get me out of here. I tried straining my ears to see if I could hear people around, but there was nothing but silence. A deafening, eerie silence. All I could hear was the sound of Sena's breathing. Dang it, sleepy like a gosh darn baby, why don't you? Sena's lying sprawled on top of me, our bodies tightly pressed against each other. Perfectly complementing one another. Her chest, her stomach, her legs, nearly her entire body was right on top of me. Ugh. She was heavy. She was heavy, and being forced to feel the softness of her arms, and how slender her legs were, oh gosh. Naturally, I could still feel Sena's breathing hitting my cheek, and within it, I could smell something sweet, perhaps because of the crunchy coon she was always eating. Her breaths were deep and steady. They followed a distinct rhythm. And each time she breathed, I could feel her breasts faintly moving up and down directly against my body. Oh, bro. Was this some kind of torture? An attack of the magnitude would cause all my senses of reason to crumble within 5 minutes tops. I needed to wake her up somehow in order to avert this crisis. Wait, I'd have to wake her up? Would it be alright for me to do that? I mean, if I woke her up here and she saw the state we're in, how would she react? I also what music is playing right now? This is so inappropriate for what we're going through. She was the same girl who regularly scowled at everyone and everything. So even though this was an accident far beyond my control, there's no doubt in my mind that she'd label me a pervert anyway. Considering she wouldn't be thinking clearly, there was a very real possibility she might rip out my throat. And this distance, taking Sena's position into account, not only could she do that, but I'd be completely defenseless against it too. Well, that was probably a bit too extreme to be realistic, but if Sena really were to wake up in a panic, she could very well end up causing the rubble to collapse on top of us, and that'd be the end of it. What the heck was I supposed to do? If I could have ripped my hair out, I would have. Yeah. But since I obviously couldn't do that, I resorted to banging my back and my head against the rubble, though that, I was able to suppress my instinctual lust for Sena. Don't pay this wench any heed. I'm not and never will be into 3D girls. The girls I love are 2D. Stare at that, appear before me. Drive these worldly desires from my mind. I'm not into suck-up bees like her, so I won't give in to my lust. You try as you might, man. Who wouldn't be? I don't know. I said it wouldn't be for everybody, but man, what a dire situation. Mustn't give in to lust. I mustn't give in to lust. I mustn't give in to lust. I can't control it anymore. She is unconscious, isn't she? Oh, shut up. Surely no one will mind if I make ample use of her while she is. How about I taste those arrogant lips of hers, the same ones that do nothing but spew self-righteous bullcrap. No, I shouldn't go straight for the lips. I'm not mentally prepared for that quite yet. In that case, how about I aim for her cheek? What a goober feels too kind for him. Why does the skin of a 3D girl taste like, I wonder? Does it taste like sweat, or does it perhaps taste sweet? Startled, I cut off the delusion inside my head. Then his voice leaked out of her mouth, mixing with her breath. It was quite a whisper. Her voice was soft and frail. I would have never imagined it could come from someone who was normally so fierce and unapproachable. Her dad. Her eyes were still closed. Didn't seem like she'd woken up yet. She'd been talking in her sleep. I instantly felt a pang of relief, realizing she hadn't read my impure, perverted thoughts. From behind her closed eyelids, a tiny drop fell, and with a barely audible plop, it landed on my cheek. It was so very warm, and yet after only a fleeting moment, it went cold. Even as Sena cried sometimes, I supposed. And now I was starting to feel sad. Had something happened between her and her father? Oh, you have no idea, dude. A little worried, I timidly called out to her. With a twitch, Sena's body started to stir. Her eyes gently opened. Oh boy, this is gonna be rough. Hi. How are you? At point blank range, our eyes meet, and the drowsy Sena stared at me. Her eyes are still sleepy. She didn't seem to be fully awake yet. Don't look, it's embarrassing. Didn't take long for Sena's face to instantly turn beet red. Her eyes shot open, her gaze raced from side to side. Yeah, complicated?
動いちゃダメだ。瓦礫に押しつぶされちゃうから。
瓦礫だと?
I explained to Sena how we'd been buried alive by the earthquake.
そうか。確かあの時、すごい揺れが来て、上から大きなモニターが落ちてきて。お前が私を助けてくれたんだったな。
Yeah, almost against my ability. Oh yeah, that did happen, didn't it? Though I don't have a single clue as to how.
礼を言う。私が守ってやる約束だったんだがな。まさか西条に助けられるとは。
Yeah,
もっとダメなやつだと思っていたが、意外と男らしいじゃないか。
Thank you? Question mark?
どうも。
I would have never thought I'd get complimented like that in a million years. Must have been the first time in my entire life I'd got a compliment from a 3D girl. Granted, Saratan had told me I was totally amazing all the time, but still.
だが、
Uh-huh.
この状況は、良くないな。
Yeah, this is a problem.
密着してるもんね。
Stop. No, she meant the rubble, you idiot.
バカ、そうじゃないだろ。ここで生き埋めになってることの方だ。
ごめん。
まあ、密着してるのも、良くない状況だが。
Aww. Just kick me while I'm down, why don't you?
セナのギガロマニアックスの力でなんとかしてよ。できるでしょ。
難しいかもしれないが、やるだけやってみよう。西条、私の目を見ろ。
Oh boy.
なんで？
お前と私の間で周囲共通認識を作るためだ。
Okay, yeah. Did she just ask me to look into her eyes? Being squished together like this was already embarrassing enough, but doing that would completely smash my sense of reason I had left. I'd go feral.
ぐずぐずするな。聞こえなかったのか？私の目を見ろ。
Urged on by Sena's voice, I reluctantly obeyed, gazed into her eyes, and then those eyes turned directly toward me. Okay, yeah, this is really embarrassing. I'd never made eye contact with a girl for such a long time before. I'd never even looked people in the eye while talking to them for the first place, so I wasn't even close to comfortable with this. Making eye contact essentially meant that you were the only thing the other person was looking at. Right now, it was reflected in Sena's eyes, meaning I was the one thing that she was looking at. I was monopolizing Sena's field of vision, and we were so close. Upon realizing that, I couldn't help but think that this embarrassing act was just as erotic as any age scene ever was. Curse my eroge brain. Yep, I don't know, man. You let the brain rot really set in. This poor guy. Shoot, I need to stop these idiotic delusions. We were making eye contact. What if Sena were to see through me? You wouldn't normally be able to read someone through thoughts just by looking into their eyes, because if he could, and Sena was a giglomaniac as well. I couldn't do this. Making eye contact with a girl was impossible.
西条、目をそらすな。
Despite her saying that, Sena's gaze wasn't pointed at the right direction either.
僕には無理。
Oh, gosh.
そうか。実は私も無理だ。
Oh, gosh. What is even happening here? What is happening here?
こんな近い距離じゃ、照れる。
Seeing Sena's stained, beet red breathed some life back into me, actually. Where had all this moe come from? Oh, is this girl not actually 3D? A girl this cute couldn't be 3D. Sena, you're so cute, Sena. Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh.
熱いな。
Oh, no. We still being hit with the brain blast? Sena's forehead, face, and even the nape of her neck were drenched in sweat. With how close we were, I couldn't even smell it. There's no wind or anything either. The rubble burying us had no openings. Was there even a way for the air to pass through at all? No, we were gonna run out of oxygen pretty soon. At this point, we probably have. We're probably just dying. Upon thinking that, I realized that Sena's breathing had become really heavy. The rhythmic movement of her small chest on top of mine had gotten much faster than before.
まさか息苦しい。
うるさい。熱いだけだ。
Dang it, what was I supposed to take from that? Whatever, just use your giglomaniac powers already. Shouldn't you be able to make all the debris disappear like magic?
西条、お前の力でなんとかならないか。この状況じゃ、私はうまく集中できない。
The hell are you on about? Don't tell me you're going to start relying on me now. How exactly do you expect me to do anything about this? Materializing a flower bed beneath ISA and saving you earlier were both just coincidences. It's not like I did any of it on purpose, let alone consciously. Don't rely on me. I'm supposed to rely on you, Sena. Also, please stop breathing all this warm air on me. It's actually torture. A drop of Sena's sweat fell in my mouth. It was salty.
勘弁して。
I was on the verge of tears. My sense of reason was this close to flying right out the window. It was in my mouth. I was holding it in my mouth. Sena's... Why are you saying it like that? Oh. This guy. I'm gonna claw my own eyes out.
おい、西条。
Sena's face is still red, but she seemed to be a lot more angry than she was before.
お前、殺すぞ。
Okay. All I did was taste your sweat. You can't kill me for that. Besides, it's your fault for letting it drop into my mouth.
この状況で、よくそんな。
Oh gosh. In the middle of speaking, Sena buried her face in my chest, unable to bear the embarrassment. There was no way she'd done it intentionally, but for me, that was the strongest blow out of anything so far. Gosh, so cute! Her breathing, it was passing through the gaps in my clothes, her directly onto my skin. It's so creepy. Oh no. Oh no! Quickly realizing what she'd done, Sena pulled her head back. Aw, couldn't have it lasted a little while longer?
やめろよ。お前、何を考えてるんだ。
What are you thinking about? This is a domino effect. She was obviously shaken. Maybe she was just used to being the tough person in the room, so someone else taking control really left her flustered.
今すぐ、
Oh
妄
no.
想を封印しろ、西条。
Oh
お
no.
前の、その、
Oh no.
股間のあれが硬くなって、私の太ももに当たってるんだ、バカが。
Oh my gosh, I would die. I would just kill me now. What? Oh, yeah, I did feel something there. Sent soft, pillowy thighs.
妄想するなと言ってるだろ。
Smack! Suddenly I found my face at the receiving end of a brutal headbutt, and since it was a surprise attack, a mighty strong one at that, the single strike knocked me out like a light. Well, fetch me.
私はもう天聖信仰会に戻る気はない。
Oh, interesting.
実に惜しいね。君の才能を私は買っていたのだ。
利用していたの間違いだ。
Oh.
私はもうあなたの言葉は信じない。教祖としての倉持雄大な虚像でしかないと分かった。
Is it Sena's dad? Is like he digging us out?
信仰の救いを君も欲していただろう。
かつての私は欲した。だが今は違う。
では何を欲しているのかね。
償いのための死だ。
一度信仰に触れた者は離れることなどできない。君は離れたつもりでも、信仰はいかなるものをも見捨てない。
神に頼る気はもうない。神に匹敵するものを作ってしまった私には神にすがることは許されない。
Interesting.
西条、起きろ、西条。
I could hear an extremely pompous conversation between two unfamiliar men. Sena's hushed shouts jutted in between the two voices, causing me to open my eyes. Alright. We're gonna go ahead and stop here. Feels like things are gonna take off. We've gotten past like the most awkward section, I'm sure. Well, for now at least. I do think that Sena's dad is here, and he's like done a temporary truce with like the leader of the Divine Light Church group. And they're trying to dig us out. So that'll be good. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen after that, though. Because I'm guessing this is going to be a world line where the Noah 2 device will be allowed to continue. So basically, they're going to win. But this is like an alternate route where we get to survive and maybe have like some kind of bond with Sena. But like it's a bad end. So it's like not canon, obviously. So that's what I'm thinking. So we'll see if it gets to that. And we're gonna have the digging sound just in the background of our little conversation. Hi! That was fun. It actually was really fun. Like gosh darn it. I hate how he thinks, but man, Sena's great. She's such a fun character. I'm looking forward to seeing more of the story and plotline, but definitely top character design, top character personality. Very much enjoying her as a character. Gosh darn it. Sounds so weird. Anyway, looking forward to continuing this next time, seeing what happens next. Of course, I also could be completely wrong. Maybe I'm like 5 minutes from the end of the story. I don't feel like I am, but if I am, you know, we'll just launch into the next one. But that was fun while it lasted. Hope you all enjoyed that. I certainly did. I'm looking forward to exploring more stories with you next time. So thank you so much. And until next video, watch me up. See me in next. I'll see you there.